Thank you so much for this invitation. It is an honor for me, and it is the first time that I participate in this annual conference for cultural diplomacy. This morning was my first experience, and I was really impressed by the quality of the speakers, the interaction of the audience, and of the variety of approaches in this room. As you have just heard, I've been a European Commissioner and Minister in Greece. So my two capacities, being a European Commissioner and being a Greek politician, makes it obvious that the last 2 years I continuously speak about the European crisis, the economic crisis, and the crisis in Greece. It is nice to speak for something else, although we try to link these two issues and to see if the intercultural dialogue and the cultural policy can help to overcome the crisis. Is there any connection? Is there really a connection between culture and the crisis? This is what I will try to prove. This is what I would like to discuss with you about. It is 3 years now that at the European level we try to overcome a crisis which has real victims, people in many countries, millions of people. It is an economic crisis, a social crisis. It has been a political crisis in many countries, in my own country as well. But it becomes day by day a crisis of conflicts between nations. If you see, there are politicians which have rhetoric against Italians against Germans, Greeks against Germans against Greeks, etc. So it is very important to see that we have to prevent this kind of crisis, because this is the worst experience that Europe has. The experience of wars, any kind of wars between nations, between people. What do we need to overcome this crisis? Of course, it is the political union. We have to work on I'm not very familiar. 1 second. How we try to overcome the crisis? We need an enhanced political union, so there are so many discussions about more political union, more democratic legitimacy, more transparency, better institutions. We're discussing about the right economic decisions, different kind of policies, of economic policies. We're discussing about banking union, a new framework, economic framework on budget, more economic union in taxation. But if we see all these policies, are there enough? Is it enough to have more political union or more economic union? The answer is not. It is not enough. We need more understanding among people. We need to enforce mutual understanding in the societies and between nations. What happens when there is no common understanding between people and nations? There is misunderstanding. This means that the same thing is perceived in different way in Germany, in a different way in the Netherlands, in a different way in Malta. There is a lot of conflict. There are many conflicts. And of course, there are stereotypes. And this is the way that very easily they can be transformed in any kind of conflict. Generally speaking, differences in ways of expressions and communication, dissimilarities in societal structure and historical experience account for a communication gap within European member states. Today, there was a lot of discussions between the continents, between different cultures. Yes, there are many differences between the European countries as well. And we have seen that through the centuries, there were religious wars, there were national wars, there were economic wars in Europe. And there are particular areas that there are differences and there are cultural differences, and in good times we can see, I don't know if you have seen these nice sketches, in good times we have seen with humor our differences. So Germans, we are teasing them, they are very famous for their humors. All Greeks are very famous because they are very well organized, and Brits about their cooking. So it is humor, but this humor in good times and teasing each other can be something very polemic in periods when we have problems and crises. Now we have many problems discussing between the European nations concerning the stereotypes and the way that the northern people react to the southern people and the southern people for the northern people. So you have heard, particularly the last 2 years, how lazy people the Greeks are, and this is why the crisis is there, and how good workers the Germans are, or the same for the Italians, the Spaniards, the Southerns, etc. This is a stereotype which really creates problem, because you can never say that a whole people are lazy people or a whole people are good workers. And this is something which has created huge problems in politics, and it creates many problems in implementing commonly decided policies.